Proposals to introduce minimum entry grades for universities and a cap on student numbers have received backlash from critics, calling the measures discriminatory. As part of a government shake-up of post-18 education, students will soon need GCSE passes in English and Maths or 2 grade E's at A-level. Currently, a third of pupils fail to get grade 4s in those 2 core subjects, which are equivalent to a grade C in old currency. The intention is to actually cut back on students forking out for university degrees that do not translate into better job prospects and encourage more young people to take up apprenticeships or alternative further education training. But should the government be cracking down on the universities themselves for offering Mickey Mouse courses at the highest rate of tuition fees rather than penalise students struggling to get their grades? We're joined now by education consultant Tony Breslin, who is a former principal and chief examiner at A-level and GCSE. Tony, there's a really sort of mixed bag of opinions on this one. There are people saying, well, look, if you're not able to pass GCSE Maths and GCSE English, then what are you doing thinking of getting a university degree in the first place? Maybe your destiny is something less academic. And then there are other people saying, well, look, hold on. Maybe you didn't get those grades for various reasons. It might be your background, it might be disruption, it might be a brilliant scientist and dyslexic, or a brilliant linguist and just not very good at maths. What's your position on this?
I'm closer to your second position than your first. It seems to me that this plays into a broader narrative that has run for many years, which I think we could only have in this country, which is this idea that somehow there are too many young people going to university. And most of those who utter that narrative, they've been to university, their children are going to university, and their parents went to university. If we're serious about improving education, we need as many people, as many young people pursuing their potential as far as they can. And what we know about examination results is that they're incredibly socially patterned in terms of your background, the school you've attended, and all sorts of other factors. And that means that children of high ability from poorer backgrounds often don't achieve the grades that they deserve. So in effect, the worry is that this will discriminate, this will narrow participation in higher education. And it will mean that we have fewer bright young people going into education. And I think, frankly, to tie it to student loan access is really going to accentuate that, because, of course, the young people who depend most on loans and financial support are those, again, from disadvantaged backgrounds. So I think this is wrong-headed at every level. What we ought to be asking is, how do we enhance pre-university education? How do we enhance time in the sixth form? How do we invest in these young people so that whatever their background, they achieve their potential? Because otherwise, we're simply shutting the door. And we're going back to a situation when I was, applying to university. I went to a school in Brent, North West London, which I'm working with again now, which is fantastic, Newman Catholic College. But back then, hardly any of us achieved great academic things. I think 2 from my year group went to university. Do we want to go back to that? I think we want to go forward to a place where young people achieve their potential, both in professional education and in academic education. This isn't the way to do it.
But, Tony, could there be an argument that perhaps the government should go after certain universities who might be offering courses that might be better suited to diplomas or apprenticeships, and students taking these courses are amassing debts after over £9,000 a year student loans?
I think we need to separate the two issues. I mean, certainly what we are very inclined to do in this country, and you've referred to it in your own intro, we're inclined to refer to new and often innovative courses as Mickey Mouse. I think Mickey Mouse gets a bad press on this. And we tend constantly to refer to the vocational routes, the apprenticeship routes, as not as being of the same status. And that's deep in our culture. And my concern is that, if you could show me statistics that said children from whatever their ability were as likely to go into apprenticeships, whatever their class background, I would fully support that every day of the week. But we know that increased access to vocational education, I prefer to call it professional education, it is actually what you get is children from poorer backgrounds are steered into those tracks. And what we've got to do is take a serious look about what we value and what we don't value. We've got to make sure that our professional education is as attractive to middle class parents and middle class students as academic courses. At the moment, too many young people who end up on a vocational track are there because they've sort of fallen off the academic track. Well, this is a model to frankly push more young people off that track, and this will discriminate against young people from disadvantaged backgrounds, from poorer backgrounds, and from non-traditional backgrounds.